if you saw my last video about endo, with a continuing saga of Ayla and her endo. I'm really trying not to cry because I want people to watch this, and nobody wants to watch anybody cry. So I talked to my doctor today. Actually, I didn't talk to my doctor. I talked to the nurse who had information from my doctor about a second opinion, hopefully surgery. Would a second opinion lead to an MRI? Which doesn't necessarily diagnose it either, but that's usually the second step. And information relayed to me was even with a second opinion, they forced you to go on birth control. Even with a second opinion. And that goes for UVM Medical Center in Vermont, as well as Vermont Gynecology. At least she thinks that that's going to be the case with Vermont Gynecology. And I have told her that I have tried it. I have tried the birth control. Not just from when I was younger, but just for about 3 weeks. Because I had to make the deal that if I have a prescription of birth control, which they sent me, and I try it, they'll schedule me an MRI. It doesn't seem to be the case. They want you on it for like 6 months. I was just crying to the nurse. I said, begging for help. What do I do? Why am I making this video? Well, I feel desperate. And I want you to know that I am not the only one going through this right now. I think I can understand why the people will look for the option of medically assisted death when you can't take it anymore. And I've always been against that because I worry. Okay, we're being empathetic. We want to make it so that people don't suffer. But I was afraid they'd bring it all the way to the other side where they'd start forcing you to do that, especially older people like my parents. Darn it, I'm crying. I told you I wouldn't. So I've always been against it because I was afraid they would use it for bad. That's what I worry that they're going to do with medically assisted. You know the word. But right now, I'm so desperate. I can understand why. Why people choose that. Because there's no answers. 30 years later, there's no answers for endometriosis. There's no answers. Just the same stuff that they've been doing for years. And we still suffer every day. It's not cancer. It's not any of the diseases that you have heard of. This is a silent killer. I make this video just because I don't know what's gonna happen to me. I can't take, like, the path that I was talking about, medically assisted. My family needs me too much, but I am practically useless. I have a few good days. I cram everything I need to do into those days. But I am losing steam and hope. On top of everything else, like going out with my mom. I feel so sick and trapped. They say reach out to an endometriosis specialist. There doesn't seem to be any here. Insurance doesn't really pay for it or the surgery. You can't get a referral. So if anything happens to me, you'll know why. And then maybe someday, people will know what endometriosis is and how much we suffer silently, in pain, ignored, dismissed. Honestly, endometriosis, it should be considered a disability. It's an autoimmune disease. It affects every part of your life. Some people get it in their spine. Some people have nerve pain from it. And the only way they can diagnose it is if they rip you open. Have you ever been in a situation where you're so desperate that you think to yourself, I would rather cut myself, make my own surgery, pull out whatever, hand it to them, say, will you please look at this? Please help me. If there's no help, there's no help. I'm trying to be strong. I just don't know what the next step is, besides taking that awful birth control. That is not a solution. Do you hear me, doctors? Birth control is not a solution for endometriosis. For people like me, it makes me really sick. And I'm already sick all the time. So why do you force us to take something that makes us sicker? Just to prove that we have something. You could just schedule a surgery. Or, for God's sakes, an MRI. Why is this so hard? To get the medical establishment to look at endometriosis and say, you know what, ultrasounds aren't going to do it. Let's do an MRI. I don't even know the point of that because, like I said, endometriosis is microscopic. MRIs aren't necessarily going to catch it. They'll show reaction around like parts of your body that might let them know that the endometriosis is there. But I can't even get the MRI. I'm sorry for being such a crybaby. Please pass the word on. At least 10% of us have it. And we are suffering. And I know there are women that are desperate. Who will themselves because no one will help. No one believes us. And the way to get help, supposedly, is to take something that makes you even more miserable than the endo already does. I can't anymore. I have to be strong. I'm just having a moment, guys. Don't be scared. But this is how we suffer. Spread the word about endometriosis before it's too late.